No one listens to me. This is the same thing with the raid tonight. It was the same fucking thing in the raid.
Just people not
stuff,
listening.
I said stuff at the beginning of the raid,
Mhm.
and by the end of the raid, they were like, "Yeah, you were right. Should have done that from the beginning." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not just spouting nonsense over here. Like, we were having issues with the second boss with like threat generation, where like people were just like pulling off too early, and I was just like, Druid. We have a feral tank, one of the tanks, and they have like a like pocket thing where they can. There's a level 19 item that they can farm that's got 3 charges, and if they use it, it makes their threat generation like way more than anyone can ever beat at any point in time.
Mm-hmm.
So, feral druids use a level 19 weapon all the way up until fucking next. Um, and I was just like, just go in with that. I was like, go in with that. It'll give us a cushion to get everyone up to where they need to for threat, and we're not going to wipe. And they're like, well, no, we want to save that for the end so everyone can just go ham at the end of the fight and like just finish it real fast. And I'm like, that doesn't matter if we're dying within 10 seconds because no one can hold threat and the fight's just over. And that's what they started doing, and we got it, and it was just dumb shit like that all the time. I don't know. People don't listen to me. I
I love angry, not listened to Stefen. I get no respect. He's like the Rodney Dangerfield of gamers. Sure. That's what Stefen is. What do you guys want to talk about tonight? By the way, we'll just go ahead and start this off. We are Nerded Up, and I'm not even going to pretend like we're live. This is totally pre-recorded, and that's okay. But we got a lot of stuff. Like, there's tons of stuff to catch up on. There's a lot of stuff that I want to talk about, but we got to run down. And I really, really, really want to try to make the episodes not go super long, right? Like, our episodes go, it's great because I love talking to you guys, but like, it's just like, there's some times where I'm just like, a fucking hour and 15 minutes, that needs to be shorter. And most of it's my fault. I totally get that, right? Like right now, I'm spending way too much time talking about this. So we're going to try to make the episodes a little bit shorter. So we're not going to talk about as much stuff and for as long. So I like some of the stuff I want to get to for sure. I want to get Brett's thoughts on Smite. We haven't. The one time we tried to all three play together, Stefen decided to quit on us because he got really angry with us in the middle of a match, and he quit in the middle of it. And then Brett and I got snowballed.
What happened? I was like 7 kills in or something like that.
Yeah.
You had laughed at the opponents in game.
Yeah.
And then you got disconnected.
Yeah. And then my ISP was just like, oh, I think it's time to do a 6-hour server maintenance, right? Like that's about it.
Well, whenever you left and then they beat us, they're like, "How's it feel, bitch? Your friend was laughing and then he left and we beat you." And then they were like laughing at us at the end. I'm like, well, it was 3v2. Like, of course. Yeah. Of course y'all beat us. If you're like even moderately okay at the game, you can win a 3v2 or like it's ridiculous. But Brett, in a second I want to get your thoughts on Smite and like just your first moments of playing the game. We're going to have Stefen explain Eco. It's a game he's been playing a lot lately. Outside of WoW Classic, there's not a ton to do in Destiny right now, and he's playing with some of the guys from our guild in WoW. Well, I guess technically it's mostly his guild and kind of my guild, but I don't really play enough. But he's playing Eco with some of those guys, and it looks really, really interesting. I want him to explain it more. And then we have a few first details on Project A coming out by Riot. I'm really intrigued by this game and some of the stuff that people have said about it so far. But for our main topic, do we want to talk about Blizzard, which I feel like could be an entire hour by itself? So maybe, in my opinion, might be best to wait until next episode to really dive into Blizzard and everything they've done wrong lately and what their shelf life is. Or do we want to talk about trying to revive dead games, specifically talking about some things going on with The Division 2 and Anthem, both Ubisoft and Bioware trying to revive those two dead games. So what do we want to do, reviving dead games, or do we want to talk about Blizzard tonight?
I say we talk about reviving dead games because Blizzard's probably going to screw up this week again somehow. And
okay,
like it's a topic we could do anytime.
There was a big post on the classic subreddit for WoW that like the Chinese WoW classic servers are just like completely busted.
Really?
That like they haven't removed them off of layers. And this is not really like Blizzard's fault, but this is like because they can't do anything about the Chinese servers. It's all outsourced to
Right.
another company.
Right.
But I guess starting at like 1 p.m. their time, it's already like a 3-hour queue. And then by like 7 p.m. server time, they're saying it's something like a 7 to 8 hour queue.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and that you can't get in and play if you're
These
like
are-
a normal person in a job.
Remote into your computer 4 hours before you get off of work.
One
By
of the
time
guys
you
was
get
saying
there-
that he thinks that's what a lot of people were doing and that's why the queues are starting at like 1
Yeah.
because people are remoting in that early to get
Jesus
ready.
Christ. All right. Well, yeah, that's what we're going to do then. Next episode will be a big and the next episode will probably be actually live. But as it stands right now, it is Wednesday night at 11:26, and they're like, I know it's I wanted to pretend like we're live right now and then premiere it. But I know I'd screw up at some point and say like Wednesday night. Yeah, I don't want to be fake. Though I'm really good at accidentally being fake or like being authentically fake. Is that a thing? Like
Sure.
just being fake because that's who I am, but I can't fake being fake, right? So we'll talk. I don't know what that means. We'll talk about Blizzard in the next episode because there's so much stuff to get to with them. So we'll talk about trying to revive dead games. But first, Brett, your thoughts on Smite? What are you 2 weeks into the game now? Is that right? So what do you think
Something
about
like that.
Smite? I mean, Smite's a game that Stefen and I played a ton, and there was a point where we really, really thought Smite had a chance to actually make some noise on the esports scene. Like, to actually be... It was never going to be bigger than League of Legends. It was never going to be bigger than CSGO. But I thought for a moment there... before Hi-Rez did very high-resy things, for a moment there, I thought that Smite could end up being like number 3 or number 4. You end up beating Dota 2 from at least from an NA standpoint. So we have a ton of experience with the game, but I will say this. Of all the people that we've played with, you have caught on faster than every single one of them. And it's really nice being able to play with somebody who wants to play an actual Guardian tank and try to save me and Stefen while we do damage.
Yeah, it's fun. I've only mostly played Joust, so I haven't gotten to the whole of Smite. But I like it. I like the angle that you actually play at versus League and Dota, where you can actually aim at things way better, in my opinion. Like in League of Dota, you can like click on the things to aim at them for the most part, but it's
not the same.
It's not how my brain works.
It feels more.
Crosshairs are my life.
That's the thing. That's one of the reasons why I always love Smite. Is it feels like the MOBA for FPS players. Like if you prefer FPS. Or
Definitely.
Other games like that, that's the MOBA for you. I was never a huge. I mean, I liked RTSs, all right. I liked the Command and Conquer games, but I was never a huge fan of StarCraft. They weren't my favorite. I just loved playing the story modes on them and then moving on. But so like that's what League was, right? League was always more of the RTS control type turned into a MOBA, but Smite feels different. Like the skill shots in Smite feel cooler and better for me, and that's the one thing. I think we're all relatively good at FPS games, and so that's why we're just pretty good at Smite. We're also just not morons. Like 90% of the people that we play with are just more like I tried to explain to him, Steph, and I try to explain like if we ever get paired up with somebody who's a diamond anything, they're gonna be the worst player we've ever played with. That's just how it works. Like Stefan and I never get good teammates. We always get bad teammates. That's why for the longest time we tried to get other people to play with us, but then we found out that our friends that we pulled into the game, 95% of them were just as bad as all the random guys that we were getting put in with. No, I'm not talking about you, Mackie. No, I'm not talking about you, Carrie. That's actually exactly who I am talking about right now. But Smite's fun. We'll have to jump on and do some more of that. We haven't streamed anything in a really long time, so we might have to stream some Smite gameplay. If Stefan will actually play it with us instead of leaving us in the middle of a match and letting us die and lose, but that's whatever.
That's your fault.
All right, Stefan, you've been playing a game called Eco, and I want you to explain this game a little bit more. So, roughly from what I understand, Eco is way more complex and way prettier Minecraft. But I've looked more into it since you were talking about it the other night, and I really want to buy this game because it looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, so it is it's definitely not the same art style as Minecraft. It tries to be a little bit more realistic looking. But it still uses the same essential like voxel style, like things are squares, but let's just say they're more rounded squares in this.
Hmm.
But individual units, you do very basic Minecrafty things of gather resources, build things with said resources to gather more resources to build more things. Um, the neat thing about the game is that the stipulation is that when you open up a server, there's going to be a meteor that hits the world after a certain amount of time. And that's, you could choose that. It's like 30 days. And this is real world time, not in game time. So it could be like 30 days or 60 days or whatever you want to say it. And that will destroy the world. Now, your goal is to go from sticks and stones to
Will
meteor
break my bones.
stopping. Yes, to meteor stopping technology. Um, Now the way you do this is very Minecraft. However, I like to call this Minecraft with consequences.
Yeah.
It uses very logical means that of things that would happen in the real world. For example, let's say you decide to go on a hunting spree and kill every deer in the world. Deer aren't coming back. The deer are dead, and you can push populations to extinction by over farming them. Um, Deforesting areas will the trees won't grow back unless you replant them. Um, and if you like, let's say you don't want an item, you throw it on the ground. Well, if you leave it there long enough, it turns into garbage and then causes world pollution. Um,
I'm gonna pollute everything.
yeah, I mean, moving up on technology, eventually, like you can build things like cars and stuff to get around the world, but that pollution then causes global warming, which raises the sea levels. So
Interesting.
the whole game, and that's why it's called eco because it's all about
Mhm.
like the ecology,
Hmm.
is trying to balance your progress with the effects of the world. On top of that, it really plays into the multiplayer aspect of things. You can specialize in skills, which makes it way easier for you to do things. So, for example, right now I'm a logger. I'm really good at chopping down trees, and I get experience for chopping down trees. Um, and I can do that faster and for a longer amount of time than someone who's not a logger. Same thing can be said about like people who are like tailors. They'll take less materials to craft anything, and those level up. And as you get higher level, you can also like go into other specs of things. But you also discover things. So like you can do a research table and learn engineering, but it'll be a while before you learn how to do like electrical engineering or things like that.
I have a really important question.
Yes.
If I don't wear clothes, can you see my character's penis?
No.
Hmm.
You actually don't have any options for like clothing.
Oh,
Like
really?
the
Then
yeah,
why
it's
do you
like a
need
like
tailors?
uh because of things like rugs. So the
My
idea is
God,
also
that's not a tailor. That's a rugger.
that what
Yeah,
man?
that's what it's called. It's called a rugger.
Uh
No.
they
You
they
keep
really
talking. I'm gonna
play
figure out what the name of the guy who makes rugs is.
they play into the idea that like you have to build up your home and your base. And so like your home when you're building it takes into account like the objects in it and the rooms, and you get bonus experience if your house is like well decorated and well furnished and like the amount of rooms in it. So you want to have like multiple bedrooms and multiple bathrooms, and you want to put like trophies on the wall and lighting and whatnot.
There is no such thing as a name for a person, one who makes rugs.
Anyone
Yeah,
could
I
have sort
We'll
of
googled it.
just go with Taylor or a rugger. I don't care. We can invent things.
call
on
it a carpetour.
A carpetour.
Carpetour.
Ooh, I like that. I almost cursed. That was so good, but I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
Right.
Not this time. Yeah, I want to try out Eco. Maybe that's another game that we can add to the list. It's $30. That's my only issue. Is like too often I spend money on games I never play, and I feel like that would be a game I might have fun with it for a while, but then at some point I know it's going to be something that I'm just going to see on my Steam list and be like, oh, that was $30. Interesting. I didn't play that nearly enough, but I don't know. I might have to try it out. Maybe I can find a way to get a code of it from somewhere from somebody. I don't know. Brett, talk to Brandon. See if he can get us some codes for Eco. Brandon,
he does stuff sometimes.
He does. It's insane the stuff that he does. Speaking of stuff, what a segue. That could literally move into anything. The first details of Riot's Project Alpha or Project A have come out. That's not going to be the name of the game, but Project A, from the way people explain it, is definitely more like Counter-Strike, but with like hero character elements of Overwatch. But you have to actually buy the abilities. The abilities are more they're more they add more to the tactical element of the game, and they're more for support than they are overpowered or anything like that. But everything I've seen about Project A so far, which nobody knows when it comes out, everything that I've seen from the people that can talk about it and the amount of detail that they can give, which isn't a lot, only have good things to say about it. And they say that this could be a legitimate CSGO competitor. And honestly, like when you think about the company that's making it, Riot, first of all, they're making the game free. The only thing that you'll pay for are cosmetics, which is huge. Like CSGO, it's weird. CSGO has actually been gaining, like exponentially gaining in popularity over the last year, 2 years, because as esports continue to grow and get bigger, and people are seeing it because of stuff like Fortnite and Apex Legends, they realize, okay, these aren't the biggest esports. What are the biggest esports? Okay, League of Legends and Counter-Strike are the two biggest. Well, I don't give a crap about MOBAs because I'm an FPS Call of Duty bro. Well, let me watch this Counter-Strike game.
Right.
Oh my God, this guy Simple is an absolute machine. Well, I want to be like him. So it's gaining in popularity.
Well, it's not even that that people don't like MOBAs versus first-person shooters. Even it's, oh, I'm watching that guy. He shot him. He's dead. I know what happened.
Right. It's
it's
a lot
League's
simpler.
Like, that guy he turned gold for a little bit. Don't know what happened. Some guy on the other side of the map died. I don't know.
Well, like League, you have to understand the strategy and be like people that watch League are like, oh my God, that rotation was incredible. Oh my God, look at that play. But you have to actually know the strategy behind the game. Whereas CS:GO, there's obviously it's way more in depth than see head, click, shoot, dead. There's so much more strategy and so many more tactics that go behind it. But when people first start watching, they see a guy pop off with the op and get 3 kills in a row, and you're like, oh my God, that's so cool. And then you start learning more from there. And so more and more people are getting into CS:GO. But everything that I've seen from Project A looks like it could be an actual competitor to CS:GO. It looks really, for the gameplay that we saw is super early on, but it looks really smooth. The art style looks really good. Riot doesn't really necessarily make bad things. TFT has been good and gaining in popularity. Their TFT is about to come out on mobile at some point here soon in the future. Obviously, League of Legends has been the most popular, one of the most popular games and the most popular esport over the last 10 years. It's insane. So Project A looks like it could be really, really good. If the abilities are too overpowered, that's what could ruin the game. The abilities truly can't be too overpowered. But I'd be excited to have another. I just really like having as many FPS on the market as possible, because right now when it comes to FPS, the only game I care about playing Call of Duty, which is only kind of fun, but there's just nothing else, and then Apex. And I played with Carrie in Apex the other day, and I don't know if he was having fun. I honestly don't know why he was playing. I kept saying, isn't this your favorite game now? Like, you know how when you're in an abusive relationship and you try to reinforce why that person should be with you even though you're abusive? That's what I was doing to Carrie, and I don't think it worked because he was playing Children of Morta tonight instead of doing the Valentine's Apex Legends stuff with me. Which, by the way, Children of Morta, if you have Xbox Game Pass or if you've seen this game, Children of Morta is an absolutely fun and incredible game. And I actually recorded some gameplay footage because I want to do like a 2-minute review on it, and it's really, really fun. It's roguelike. It's like a top-down. It's like if you took Legend of Zelda, what was like that top-down pixely old school game where you could play a wizard or a warrior or a hunter. Stefen, help me out.
Golden
Golden Axe
Gauntlet Legends.
Gauntlet, yes, Gauntlet. It's like a mix between like Gauntlet and Diablo with some with roguelike elements. It's pretty cool. Every time you die, it advances the story more in different ways. It's really fun. So Children of Morta is good. I've been playing that on Project xCloud. By the way, another little news piece. Project xCloud is now live on iOS, limited. So if you have Apple, you have an iPhone or anything like that, or an iPad, then you can do Project xCloud, which is absolutely incredible. Stadia is okay, but Project xCloud is absolutely amazing. So play Children of Morta on there. All right, thank you, Phil. I will take my check in the mail. I'll send you my address. Thank you, Phil Spencer. That was an awesome plug by me for Xbox and Children of Morta. I don't know who needs to pay me from them, but somebody does. All right. Let's dive into our main topic for tonight. So far, the not taking too long in the episode is not going well, but it's okay. So we're going to talk about trying to revive dead games. Now, one of these games isn't necessarily dead, but it's not necessarily alive either. It's like whenever your wife has left you for another guy and you think there might still be a chance to win her back, right? Not that I'm experiencing that right now, because I'm not, but maybe someday in the future I could be experiencing that. The future looks grim, but it's not dead yet. Now, the other game that we're going to talk about, Anthem by Bioware, is a dead game, and this is like Necromancy. Bioware is essentially trying to perform the art of video game necromancy to revive this game, and it's even more in depth than what they announced with the Anthem 2.0 like a couple of months ago. But we'll start with The Division 2 by Ubisoft. The Division 2, I already had it on PC, but I've bought it on every other platform for $2.99. It's the best deal of my entire life. Like, I don't even know that I'm going to play it. But just to buy a game, a AAA title by Ubisoft that came out a year ago for $3, I couldn't not do that. Like, that's too good of a deal to not buy a game like that. So I installed it on my Xbox, but I have a feeling that in like 2 months when I need to put a new game on my Xbox, I'm going to be uninstalling it and being like, whatever, it was $3. Because that's such an insanely good deal. Had to buy it. So The Division 2, right now, I think it's up until like February 24th. You can go buy the Division 2 on all platforms for $3, $2.99 plus tax, duh. And they announced that right before, or the day before, they decided to announce their new expansion, the Warlords of New York expansion. And if you go to Polygon's article about the Division 2 Warlords of New York soundtrack, it literally says in the flavor text of underneath the title of the article, it says Warlords of New York sounds like Ubisoft's version of Destiny's The Taken King. Now, that's not something that we take lightly here at Nerd It Up, because The Taken King is probably hands down one of my favorite expansions of any game of all time. The Taken King expansion for Destiny 1 legitimately actually saved the life of Destiny. Destiny didn't have a lot going for it. It wasn't going anywhere. There wasn't a ton of endgame content, and the Taken King expansion was absolutely incredible. And so I was at least intrigued whenever they said that this was a Taken King level expansion. Now, they didn't necessarily say that it's going to work as like the Taken King did for Destiny, but they did say it sounds every bit as foundational as the original Destiny's The Taken King expansion. But what they're going to do is they're going to bring the game back to New York. Obviously, it didn't really work out. Where was it? Was it in Boston or Chicago? DC? Who gives a shit, right? Like, the only reason you wanted to play The Division was so you could run around New York and be like, oh my God, that's the Empire State Building, and I just killed somebody with a flamethrower in there. Like,
right? Because DC has no landmarks that you'd recognize.
Who cares, right? Like,
Okay.
Awesome. The White House, the Lincoln Memorial, cool. I don't care. Like, I don't want to fight in. Okay, here's the biggest problem why I don't care, and this is one of the reasons why I'm kind of intrigued by this expansion. In the first Division, the whole reason of the story was you were supposed to find Aaron Keener, the rogue Division agent who set this whole thing in motion. And in the Division 2, they just decided, let's go to DC. Who cares about that guy anymore? And they went away from the entire point of the story of the damn game. You never found Aaron Keener in the Division 1. Everything that they did,
Sure.
you never found him, you never fought him. It's so weird to be like, here's your main bad guy, but also you're never going to find him. And then in the second game, be like, hey, the Division 2's coming out. I bet you think you're going to find Aaron Keener in this one, but you're not. And so you don't.
You're not even going to look for him.
Yeah, so it's like, you're not even going to be the same people. You're just going to be some people in DC, and you're not even going to be looking for him at all. And so I think that they saw that as a mistake, and they realized the opportunity that they had with endgame content, hopefully, potentially, and they're fixing that with Warlords of New York, and they're going to take it back to New York, and it's going to be centered around and focused on trying to find Aaron Keener. Now, everything I've heard about this game is that they've had progression issues, they've had gear issues, they've had all the same issues that the first Division had, but I will say that I heard very good things about the Division after its release and after the first year that it had been out. They fixed the game. And so I'm at least intrigued by Warlords of New York. I'm intrigued to see if they can actually revamp the game. And they said, like, they want the Dark Zones to be revamped, so they're returning to a simpler rogue mechanic, where I think they tried to get too fancy with the rogue mechanic in the Division 2, and it wasn't as easy as simple as it was in the regular Division. But the Dark Zones have always been a problem. Like Stefen and I, we played that. The Dark Zones were never ever a clean experience, and so I don't know. Like, do you think, Stefen? I'll let you start off. Do you think that Ubisoft, even with a Taken King level expansion, let's say it's as good as that, do you think Ubisoft can save the Division? Because at least Destiny had a player base, and it was new, and people were intrigued enough to come back and continue playing. But do you think that this expansion for the Division 2 can actually save this game?
I don't know. That's a really hard question. Let's see what the actual player count is.
Okay.
It looks like across all platforms. This isn't right. This is how many people have trophies in PlayStation. Man, there should be an easier way to look this stuff up, right?
You would think so, but there never is. Every time I try to look up active player counts for games, unless it's on Steam, it's the most convoluted bullshit ever.
Yeah, there's even a thread about people asking, but I mean, this is like even months ago. People were talking about how long it was taking for the matchmaking for things. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things. Like, say what you will about Destiny, like even at its like lowest points, it's always had a very steady player base. Mm-hmm. You know, there's always been a player base there. Even now, where it's kind of in another slump, it's still one of like the top played games on Steam. I think it's like top 5, something like that. It might have gone down a little bit. I don't know.
Wasn't it a candidate for Game of the Year or
Steam Game of the Year?
Yeah,
yes.
Steam Game of the Year.
It was going to get Steam Game of the Year. The crowd for Destiny has always been consistent. Division 2, I think, had the issue of it didn't even open with a large crowd.
Right.
Like, you know, that's a big deal when you don't even open with much of a large crowd to speak with. Your bleed's going to get a lot worse a lot quicker. Because the player bleeds, they compound. If the player base goes low enough and people can't do things like matchmaking or whatnot, they're going to leave the game. Because they just don't. They're going to be fed up with things.
Then it becomes a problem that continues to compound on itself.
Right, and so there's going to be issues with that. I don't know if you can claim any expansion would ever be something along the lines of Taken King, because I feel like Bungie didn't even know what the Taken King was going to do for their game.
Yeah,
because you know, you do what you can, but it really did revitalize the game and just did a lot for it. And at the end of the day, it technically didn't even do a whole lot. It was just changing a few systems here and there. Mm-hmm. The amount of content in Taken King, while it felt really high, it was just really quality.
The raid itself, it's my favorite
King's
raid.
Fall was really
it's my favorite raid of any game I've ever played. More than anything in WoW. It was so much fun, and the Oryx fight itself was so frustrating and difficult and rewarding of an experience when you finally beat him.
Right, and that's the other thing that at the end of the day I don't think Division has. Their raid systems and whatnot have never been kind of like a big deal. Excuse me. There's something to be said whenever a new raid comes out on Destiny, it's number one on Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's watching it. It's cool to experience. I don't think that's ever happened for anything like the Division. Even when Division 1 was big and the first raid came out, it was kind of...
That raid was trash.
Yeah, and that's the thing with the Division is it's... End of the day, it's not a very interesting game to watch. And this kind of goes back what you were saying with esports, with like League of Legends compared to Counter-Strike. Mm-hmm. There's something to be said about this day and age of the viewability of a game. And I think developers realize this too, is how good is this game to watch while you're not playing it? Because that's a big thing now, where people will watch a game before they purchase it, and if the game looks fun, they're more likely to jump into it. Mm-hmm. We don't have a whole lot of demos or anything nowadays. It's the demos kind of just Twitch.
Yeah.
So you go on Twitch and be like, that looks like a lot of fun. And then you might actually get into the game and be like, I hate how this plays. But if it looks good, you're going to get people to spend money. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I just don't foresee Division making a comeback. That being said, there have been very dead games that have made comebacks before. I look at the Final Fantasy MMO when they did like a Realm Reborn. That game was dead. And
now all of a sudden, tons of people play it. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the game that Carrie was playing a lot, and then we pulled him back into Destiny? Oh man, this is gonna kill me. It's a free-to-play game, and they have it. You're a suit.
Explain the game.
You're a suit of armor. It's like Destiny clone. You're a suit of armor.
Oh.
And
Warframe, thank you. Yeah, Warframe was kind of like that, where they completely, now it's different and on a smaller scale, but that game was essentially dead, and they changed the way it worked and changed the way, essentially how the mechanics, and revamped the entire game, and a lot of people started playing it again, and it grew the player base a lot. Now it's, like I said, much smaller scale. I don't know. Brett, what do you think? Do you think the Division 2 can be saved? Because you remember when I bought this. I was literally
I bought it too.
Oh, did you? Okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right. We both bought it because
we both were duped by the same person.
But we were both duped by Charles, and Charles was like, you gotta play it. He's trying to get me to play it again right now. Yeah, he's like, re-download it and play it with me on PC, and I re-downloaded it, and I don't know why, and I'm probably not gonna play it. But Charles convinced us to get it. Do you think that? And you played way more than I did of the Division 2. Do you think that a good expansion can save this game? Or does it come down to the same problem where it's like the game mechanics themselves just aren't enough?
I just don't know. I don't think it can be saved, honestly. There's just a lot I feel that needs fixed, personally. But yeah, I didn't play the Division 1 at all. I was just going all in with what Charles was telling us. And so when we first started playing, it was fun because we were playing with each other and like running around killing people, and it was a good time. But like there just seemed to be stuff missing, and like I could jump into that game and it didn't matter what happened in the Division 1 at all. Like, which for a sequel you kind of expect to have questions about, why is that this way? It's just like, nope, we're in a new city, nothing matters, let's go.
And that's one thing you can say about
you're just like
Destiny and Destiny 2, at least there are tie-ins, and at least there you can have questions about stuff. Like the Division and Destiny, the combat is really fulfilling and rewarding. Now that's another thing too that we haven't talked about, is Destiny also had the luxury of having the best gunplay of any game I've ever played. Like when it comes down to it, people wanted to play Destiny because it just feels really, really good as a shooter. Like it feels rewarding, it feels visceral, it feels like when you shoot something, it feels great. You see a head explode. A lot of the guns are a lot of fun to use, and so people wanted a reason to come back and play Destiny more because the mechanics of the game were good. When it comes to the Division and the Division 2, it's just everything's just their way of fixing and creating difficulty is just making everything into a bullet sponge. Yeah. And just like, okay, well let's make this guy take longer to kill, and that's not necessarily fun. Right. Like just throwing a bunch of gold mobs with tons of health that's not fun.
Right. I'm gonna hide behind this counter, and then he's gonna look away. I'm gonna shoot him, and then I'm gonna hide behind this counter, and then he's gonna look away. I'm gonna shoot him, and then I'm gonna hide behind this counter, and oh my god, I've been here for 20 minutes.
Yeah, and I think that's what it comes down to is the mechanics just aren't enough. Like with Destiny, there's a multitude of different play styles that you can use. There's a multitude of different mechanics that you can use. There are character synergies that you can use, and I never really felt that from the Division or the Division 2. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think at the end of the day, the formula is flawed. Mm-hmm. So the Division wants to be a looter shooter. And all great looting style games, we're talking like Diablo, Path to Exile, Destiny, anything that's very much I want to accumulate a bunch of items and then figure out what items I want to use to be really cool. Mm-hmm. The big thing about those games, pretty much all of them, are there's a multitude of enemies and it's fast paced.
They're really easy to kill and you can blow them all up.
Right. Every so often you get like a bigger enemy that maybe takes you like a minute or two, you know, and that's like at the end of something. But you want to feel powerful, and I don't think you can do that in a cover-based shooter, because cover-based shooters are all about more playing strategically, slowing down your time, like your speed, where you have to worry about things about, you know, taking damage and whatnot. You know, Destiny has a cover system. Did you know that? Most people don't even know that.
I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, if you're crouched behind cover in Destiny, you can aim down sights and you will pop up over cover just a little bit. Most people don't know it because you don't need it.
I've been playing this game for so long, I had no idea.
Why would you use it?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You don't want to do that in that style game. You know, maybe it's a good thing to have that option, but it's the same thing like Battlefield back in the day. Like, it's a good thing to have in a game like Battlefield where you want to go slow sometimes, but Battlefield's not a looter shooter. And Division, it's just flawed in that you never really quite feel like a killing machine that you do in these other games. And I think that's just part of the issue with the formula.
I think the Division would have been more fun with a better focus on PvP. The Division, if they had focused more, and the concept of the rogue system is not bad. Like the concept in the way they wanted the rogue system in the Dark Zones to work is a good concept. It's just they forgot players are dicks. Like that's what it comes down to, is players are assholes. Right. And they abuse systems, and they find ways around things, and they find ways to break systems. And if they had focused more on having this cool game with storyline and it being a looter shooter and being kind of slow paced, but then your end game is it's squads of you against other squads of other people, and you utilize the cover and all of your abilities to fight each other in different types of game modes instead of just the Dark Zone. You have domination, capture the flag, you're trying to, or gather intel or whatever it is, then I think it would have had a lot more staying power. And then there's that other wrinkle of the cover system that, you know, now you have a reason to use the cover system and be more tactical rather than just kill a whole bunch of mobs and try to walk away with a ton of loot. So you know, that leads me to my next question, and the next game is, well, when does a game just decide that, or when does a company decide that a game just needs to die? Like at some point you have to be able to look at yourself as a company and be like, this did not work. This was bad. We did a real bad job, and we honestly, I'm going to drop one. We fucked up, guys. And that's one, and that's going to be my only one for the whole episode. But And that I'm talking specifically, the Division 2 might be that, but I'm talking specifically about Anthem and Bioware. Like at this point, we've talked about it before whenever Bioware announced that they were going to do Anthem 2.0. But now they had an announcement yesterday or the day before yesterday that said that they're going to go and they're going to stop any kind of new content. They're going to slow down production on Anthem to completely redesign the game. Like the quote from the official blog post says that the team is going to work to reinvent the core gameplay loop with clear goals, motivating challenges, and progression with meaningful rewards. Guys, y'all are past year one at this point. Like you can't, and they say it's going to take months to fix. Where they want to work to preserve the game's flying and combat mechanics, which those were good parts of the game, but the combat mechanics and the teamwork was really, really good. But like you're almost to year one, and now you're going to slow down production and spend the next few months completely changing the game. Like at some point, you just have to cut your losses and just say that this game is dead. Like there's no, you can't revive this. You're like I said earlier, you're not a necromancer. You're not going to be able to revive this dead game. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they end up they go back and they fix it and they're like, we fucked up. We're gonna. Oh no!
Two.
It's a slippery slope. If I allow one, they all start coming out.
Is this reference to Anthem or Division?
This is in reference to Anthem and with Bioware, where they're going to completely, they're stopping production. They're going to completely change the core of the game. They're going to completely redesign the game. And their official blog post said we're going to reinvent core gameplay, the core gameplay loop with clear goals, motivating challenges, and progression with meaningful rewards, while still preserving the game's flying and combat mechanics, which were good. And the combat in Anthem does feel really, really good, but you have to, the game is dead. It didn't work. And I really don't know that there's anything you can do at this point to fix it, because you lost the trust of the gamers. You lost the trust of the player base. And there's not a whole hell of a lot that you can do to try to bring those people back unless you completely change the gameplay and make it go free to play. Like, I don't know. That's the only way you could bring people back, is be like, hey, guys, hey, look, we changed Anthem. It's real fun now. We swear. We promise it's really fun. Just play it for free. Here you go, guys. Play it for free. And then go the freemium model, and you could get people to pay for expansions and stuff like that and content. But that's the only way I envision them getting any kind of player base back is by making it free to play. But like with the Division 2, with Anthem, like at what point does a company say, all right, we just need to cut our losses? Because I feel like after year one, if your player base is next to nothing or nothing, it's probably time to say, all right, we need to move on to other projects and put our money elsewhere and put our assets elsewhere.
So I think this is actually a last ditch by Bioware. This is Bioware, right?
Yeah, Bioware to actually stay a company.
Yes, I think this is them being given by EA, right? EA, yeah, EA is EA. EA's giving them the chance. They're like, you need to recover, because I'm sure there were plenty of losses in this game. Like this game was big in the making, super hyped, and then it crashed. And I think they're trying to give them a chance. They're like, you need to try to recover something, or you guys are gone. Maybe not a company as a whole, but at least the design team or the team behind the game. They're like, do something with this, make us some money, or we can't keep having you on. And I think that's what the focus is with Anthem. And, I hope the best for them, because, I never want anyone to lose their job or anything like that.
Right.
I just don't know if it's possible. This game took a dive so quick that before it even came out, it was already crashing with everything that we saw from the betas. Once people got their hands on the game, they were just like, I don't think this is going to go far. And they were right. There was good reason to be, wary of it. So
Well, I mean, look at their last two releases were supposed to be massive. Tons of resources were put into them. They were supposed to be hugely popular. And Mass Effect Andromeda, even though I loved it, well, the story was kind of meh. And yeah, the character models were kind of gross looking, but the combat was a hell of a lot of fun. And I really enjoyed just exploring and playing that game and using all the different biotic and tech combinations to detonate each other. It was a lot of fun. And then Anthem was supposed to be really, really popular. It was supposed to be their big juggernaut game, and that thing fell hella flat really fast, which is sad because, as we've said a million times, we enjoyed playing the game that they had. We enjoyed playing like the combat and the mechanics, but there just wasn't enough to the game. But like if you look at, and we've talked about this before, but if you look at BioWare, Dragon Age Inquisition is good, not great. Dragon Age 2 was a good game. Dragon Age Origins was good, not great. Mass Effect, the first one, was awesome. Mass Effect 2 was great. Mass Effect 3 flopped. People were pissed after Mass Effect 3. And then you've got Star Wars The Old Republic, which was cool for a while. And it has a decent player base now, and people are still playing it, but it's not what it was. And it's not as big as, it's not the WoW killer that people thought it was going to be. So BioWare is kind of like iffy as a company. And especially with the last two, Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem supposedly being as big, and with as much money as was spent on those, with them flopping, like I could see that. I could see this being their last ditch effort to make something work. Yeah. When they're like, man, we've had two huge losses in a row. We can't afford for this game not to work. And so, but like, do you think they can salvage it at all? Like, is this a salvageable game in any way?
I didn't play it, so I don't know for sure.
Good. You're better off for not.
Probably not.
Yeah.
This is too far gone at this point because Anthem came out in like March of last year, right?
February 22nd of last year.
February 22nd. Okay. Mm-hmm. So almost March. It's too far. It's one of those things like if they could have maintained a decent player base, maybe, but when you bleed the amount of players that you can, it's hard to recover because people feel burned. Especially if they bought the game at like full price, they just like, why would I give you my money again?
You know, the dumbest thing about that game was whenever people, what was there was something that where people were getting the highest level gear, but it was less powerful than the starting level gear. Like the way the math and the algorithms worked in the game, they were getting the highest level gear in the game, like when it first released, and it actually made their character worse than the starting items, which is just how you screw up that bad. Like that.
It had a formula based on like your average score. And so if your average score was like out of balance because like you had one item that needed to be replaced or something, it like brought down your overall damage because it's like you should be here but you're here. And so if you just equipped a bunch of low level gear, it balanced you out to the highest you could possibly be.
And see, that's broken. Like how would you screw up that bad? Brett, will you play The Division once it's completely redesigned?
Sure. Since I own it already, I'll give it a shot.
Okay, now, bigger question. Will you play Anthem when it's completely redesigned?
After you guys play it and let me know. I'm looking at their sales numbers. They didn't hit what they expected, but I think they sold a decent number of copies, and I think that's the only reason why they're trying to make it work.
That makes sense, and to try to bring the player base back, I just don't think there's any chance that they can do that. The Division 2 has a much better chance of revamping their game and bringing a player base back into it with their new expansion. I don't think Anthem has a snowball's chance in hell, which is really, really sad. So the verdict is, and we have decided here tonight on Nerded Up, stop trying to revive dead games. Let them die. Just walk up to them, stroke their head.
Stop trying to make it work.
Yeah,
it's never gonna work.
It's never gonna work
unless it's one that I ask them to keep trying on.
That's you being selfish. That's you being selfish. If I ask though, that's different.
Right.
Just walk up to them while they're laying there bleeding, stroke their head, tell them it's gonna be okay, put the gun barrel to the back of their head, and blow their video game brains out and put them out of their damn misery like a horse who broke its leg. Just move on. move on. And I get it from BioWare's standpoint. We're trying to make it work, or else we might be defunct as a company, or EA might get rid of us, or we might all get fired, and the company is going to be completely changed. But like Ubisoft, you got a ton of other stuff that you could do. I don't know, like
the Division 3.
The Division 3. But you know what? Maybe this could be the Division 3. At least they're like, oh yeah, we forgot about that whole storyline that we created with the first game. Let's fall back into that.
I don't necessarily think they forgot. I think they probably were thinking along the lines of like a great trilogy or something, and having the second one end where like he had to go back to New York or whatever, but it just never reached that point, and people were already mad.
Because the game's make better games and people will stay for longer. That's the moral of that story. Anyway, next episode, whenever we have it, we will be live, and we will be talking about Activision Blizzard and all the mistakes that they have been making as of late. Who knows? Between now and the next show, they might screw up a couple of more times, and we're going to have even more fodder to talk about. That's going to be awesome. Stefen already brought up the Chinese WoW Classic servers. I'm going to have to look into that and add that to the growing list of Activision Blizzard screw-ups. Can we ever trust them again? Figure that out next time on Nerd It Up. I don't know. Next. Oh, wait. We don't have another segment. You have to wait for the next episode.
Next time on Dragon Ball Z.
We appreciate you guys watching us. Go follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/ at nerditup on at nerdituppod on. Oh my God, I can't do this.
You want to start?
Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/ nerditup. You can follow us at nerdituppod on Twitter, on Twitch at twitch.tv / nerdituppod, and on YouTube, youtube.com / nerditup. Thank you so much for watching us, you guys, and we will see you next time.